And I think the last thing that we discussed is about validation. So we spoke about data validation, isn't it? Because validating data is important.
Yeah, but validating it also, like, yeah,
Right.
a string, or how can you put names
Correct.
and
Correct.
dates?
We have seen different methods. So the first step towards validation is selecting the right property type. So that's the minimal thing we creating the property. Right? After
Yeah.
that, as per your scenarios, as per your business requirements, we have other ways. We have seen using a validation rule, right? Like a farm level validation we have seen. And we have gone a little deeper onto the control level to manipulate things there, right? Like minimum number of characters, maximum number of characters.
Yeah, date of birth and everything we did.
Right, exactly. So we have seen different levels of validations that are possible.
Yeah.
Yes. So are we good with all of these? I know
Yeah.
you work on it, but yeah.
Yeah, it will take some, in the sense, when you were saying now, I could recall everything, but yeah, I need to go through the video again, I think, to while I'm working.
Right, got it. Yes. So then today, let us go ahead and in fact, I mean, we have a separate agenda schedule for today, but I thought maybe as you're going for a vacation, like there would be a gap for 2 weeks, right? So I thought let us complete the important aspects today and tomorrow. So the significant ones.
Okay.
So that towards the end, we will be left with not very significant sort of stuff. So we can cover that up easily.
Okay, yeah, that's and I remember in the first session, because um, we started with the classic one, isn't it? And then you told
Correct.
you will touch on, because today I was listening the video, so you will
Uh-huh.
touch on Cosmos. So that you will touch next time, because it's not so important, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So then let us go ahead and we will be talking about. So when it comes to types, we know how do we create it. Correct. We have seen that already, like how to create a data type. When you want to group bundle data, you will create a data type. That we knew. But how am I going to source it? Because every time it's not about collecting the information. Right? Sometimes you need to show, you need to display. Then which
Yeah.
means you source your data types. How is that sourcing happening? How can I do it? Like what all methods of sourcing are available? Because sometimes data will be present within your application only. So it would be easier for me to just display it or to process it or manipulate it. But sometimes data might be coming from other external sources. Correct? So how am I going to design all of that? So that is what we will be discussing. So we will also be creating few local data types. We'll see how that sources your data. Right? So all of those things we'll be looking at today. So we are aware of data types already, right? Where you can use multiple entities put together and you can call it a data type. And within an application, again, I can have n number of data types. Correct? So one we have created as candidate. There could be other things also, like student could be there, employee could be there, then address could be a data type, right? Within address, if you ask me how address could be a data type, within address, I will specifically mention door number, street, then city, locality, state, pin, country. So all of these are different individual entities, right? I will group them together. I can call it a
Yeah.
data, right? Likewise. So any related things can be put together and I can call it a data type. Okay. Now I have n number of data types in my application, each of which is sourcing from different entities or different sources. And how do I deal with it? How do I source a data type? Right. So let us see. Right. So here, if you observe, we have 3 types of sourcing options. One is, the first one, we call it Pega System of Record. We call it Pega SOR. Okay, this is Pega System of Record. Then we have External System of Record. What is it? External System of Record. Then last one is No System of Record. 3 options. One where the data is within your application, other one where the data is outside of your application, and the last one, no system of record, which means you are not storing that data anywhere in your application.
So it comes in and out and goes.
Right, right. So no system of record is like
it's coming from. Okay, sorry, yeah.
No, you need that data for your case processing, but that does not need to be stored anywhere. You don't need to store that in a system of record. Like for example, recruitment only. Let us take recruitment. Okay. Now, when I'm scheduling the interview of the candidate, I will ask his food preference. Okay, because I need to arrange some food as well. So I'll ask, what kind of food do you prefer? Is it like Indian, continental, Chinese? So he would give an answer for it. So do I really need to store that in my database, the candidate's food preference? Not required.
No.
I only need it for processing.
The day of interview or something like that.
Exactly. But I don't need that data to be stored because it's not that significant for a storage. But for the case processing, yes, I need it. So this kind of data that you deal with is part of your no system of record. If I talk about, yes, each one of them, Pega SOR, where it is like a local data source, which is within the application. So all your tables, all your data, everything will be available within the application. External system, probably by the name itself, we can identify. Here the data is not a part of your application. Rather, it is coming from somewhere else. It could be another application or it could be another simple data source or whatever, but from which I am getting the data. Then no system of record. So here you relate to data that is entered during the application.
So system of record means you're storing it somewhere. It can be in your application or it might be in a database which is outside your application. So both.
No. If it is outside the application, then it becomes external data.
Okay. In the application, in the sense, what do you mean? In the sense, in the database only, isn't it?
Yes.
In the application database, whatever database you've created for this particular application.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's like a local source for me. So I can directly.
I get it. Because when it is external, you need to ask the owner of that application to even put even in the system, you need password, username, everything to connect to that app, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So even if you use it like through a connect.
Yeah, you need to have permissions from them to first put that access.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like from the permissions.
You need to configure your system for that.
Correct. So if that process is involved, I will call it an external system of record.
Okay, get it.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. So this time we will try to see how you can source a data type in the application. So every time it's not just creating data type and then just leaving it. No, we have to source it also. Correct?
Yeah. Can I ask one question? Like, because it's candidates one, and so sometimes if the candidate is not successful, still you store their data, isn't it?
Correct.
Still, this data will be stored, and in this one GDPR, like the European, this one you can only keep it for a year. Then again, you send a consent email to them if they want to store the data or not. If the candidate is so all that, even that you schedule in the case, or how does that work?
That I mean,
Because
purging
this
or
is like this case has got over, but still it is part of this, isn't it? So next year again you
got
will send that
you
data
got it.
to them. Do you want to?
Mm,
And if they don't respond, then the data has to be automatically deleted from the database. You can't keep their data. So all
correct.
that is
Correct.
part of database, or you can manage that in.
No, that we cannot do within the application directly. So we have to, look after the DB administrator. So we should see what is their purge time period, what is their archiving time period,
So they
right?
will
Because
set
directly
it on their
we
date
will not,
type. Okay.
yeah, directly
They'll
we will
set
not
condition at the
purge
data
at the
level
times.
and send automated
Correct.
emails. Okay.
Right. The, you can say the age of a particular record, if it is more than a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will generally put with respect to the timestamps. If
Yeah.
timestamp is like earlier than a year, then I will try to archive those files first. Right? We directly don't purge them also sometimes. Right? You try
Yeah.
to archive it. From then you try to move it to the purged system. So that's how we do it, but it's not from the case life cycle or not within the application.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So I think we have already created data types, but let us go
Mm.
ahead. We will see again. Earlier we
Yeah.
created a data type, but we didn't source it. We have given the option as later. Remember, it asked about what is your sourcing option. You want to do it
Yeah.
now or later. So we have chosen
Yeah.
later. Now we will choose the now option. We'll see how we can source it. Yes. So this is how you'll be able to see the data objects. So what is data views? We'll be discussing this slowly. Then referenced by. So in what all case types do you have this candidate data object? Because the main purpose of using data objects is for reusability. I can use it across multiple case types, right? That's the whole purpose. So once you look at this integration landscape, you will be able to understand what is the data model of your application.
Yeah.
What
Sorry,
are
you went to
data
the
objects?
data, isn't it? You clicked on data and you went here, isn't
Yes,
it?
data. Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So currently there is one, but we did not source it. Let me create a new data type. So let us source that now. Or you can also choose the existing one, you can source it. Both are possible. Let us just create one newly. For example, a student record I am getting. Okay. Now I want to define a source for this.
Hmm.
And also you can see under the advanced, if you see, you will be able to see the existing ones are there. There is a candidate data type that is available. So if you want to reuse something that's already in the candidate, you can do it. Or if there's something on the implementation data class that you want to reuse, you can do it. Or you can also do it from the UI pages. So I will slowly tell you what are these classes and all. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
currently, the only class term that I've heard is during the first session regarding that application structure and organization settings.
Mm-hmm.
You give those to something called as class structure. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So class structure is the combination of your application settings and organization settings. So that's the only
Yeah.
class term we have heard so far.
Yeah.
But going forward, we will see a little more things related to these classes and stuff. Right. So for now, I'll just put it to implementation data class, and I'm going to source my student data type. Okay. So when I look at the systems, I see Pega, which is an existing system that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or also create your new system of record.
So create new in the sense, is it from external?
Yes,
Nothing like that.
could be. It could be external or it could be internal also, for example.
So
Now, if
what
you
is Pega then?
So Pega is generally, I mean, by default, it is called your system of record.
Yeah, Pega is sister. So whatever is internal, isn't it?
Correct.
But
Correct.
create new, you can also use system of record, but also for external, if you're setting, you will use create new.
Exactly. Yes. So here, if you observe, here I'm going to create a new system of record. So far, I do not know whether it's external or whether it's internal. Okay.
Okay,
So
so if
I'm
you don't know, so you will use this not to take a risk by uh, confirming it to Pega.
mm, correct. Correct. So from the system details, I do not know whether it's internal or external. I do not know that. But
Yeah,
only if you observe the connection details here. Okay. So when I used create new, it is going to create, or it is giving me a connection details where
yeah,
I need to, from where am I getting this
data.
details, right? So when it's obviously some endpoint URL, I will understand that it is coming from some other external source of data,
Okay.
right? So we need to give in all these things, but make sure that the source of your data has a proper endpoint URL from which we can access the data. And what kind of methods you are going to use. Is it, are you going to retrieve something? Are you going to post something back? I mean, like both read and write options are possible.
Mm.
So what are you going to do?
If
All
you
of
want to
those
do
things.
both,
Both together is not directly possible through this. Through this, you cannot do it. But from the Dev
again, you will
Studio,
go again one more definition. You will go for post. Now, I'm thinking from one application, you can get data also and you can send data also,
correct,
isn't it?
correct, correct.
So it is two
So
different channels. Like it is creating one channel for get and one channel for post.
right. But typically, we wouldn't do that because the same endpoint URL using for get and post is not that a good practice, because I will have two sources, right? So which means now for the same student you are using get, and for the same student you are using post, the system will not be able to accept that,
Mm.
isn't it? So generally, this would be handled using something called as savable data pages. I'll tell you what it is, but remember this term, savable data pages. So this is something that we use for both reading the data and writing the data. Okay?
Mm.
So savable data pages is something which the developers would be using. But what for a BA? For a BA, we would be using data views. We wouldn't call them data pages, we call them data views. Probably the next 10-15 minutes, we'll be discussing about this. Okay. Yeah. Okay, for now, let me just define it as Pega system of record. Let us do the creation and one more thing. For now, I'll use it as Pega. We'll see how it works. Okay, let me submit. So this time I'm going to use a data type which is being sourced from Pega system of record.
Mm.
So sometimes initially when we start creating the application, probably in the initial stages, we might not know where the data is coming from, right? So then in those scenarios, we will just create the data type, but we wouldn't source it, right? Few
Yeah.
scenarios, we will be clear on where the data is coming from, which data I'm going to use. So all of those, we will have a very clear picture. In that case, you can source them directly while you're creating your data type. That differs for each type of the application.
Mm.
So we have both the options. We have now and later also. Both are available.
Yeah.
Right. So my student data type is created. Yes. Not yet. Let me refresh this. Let me go to data once again.
It's come now.
Yes. So I've got a student data type. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it being referred by any case yet? No.
No.
I did not define it or I did not use it in anything. But does it have a system of record? Yes,
Yeah.
it has using the Pega system of record. Now I also see college data views. What is it? So I see 3 data views would be available, which is single instance of a student, list student, and then savable student. You use these data views when you want to retrieve information and you want to store the information back into the database. Okay. So I have 3 instances. What are those? What all data views I have? I have single instance, which is one record of student, single instance data view.
And savable.
List, yes, I have a list and then I have save. So single instance is for retrieving one record of a student. List is for accessing multiple records. Okay. As savable does both the jobs. It will retrieve the data as well as I can write the data back into the DB.
Okay.
So you
Read,
can
right.
use read and write, both are possible. Whereas for single and list, you can only
Only
read,
read
you
only.
cannot write. Correct. Correct. Okay. So now let me refer this student data type within any of my case types and we'll see what happens to the reference by. Okay, I'm going to use it in the recruitment.
What is this
Yeah.
yellow and one warning like 13 I can see
This
on the
one,
top?
right?
Yeah.
Right. If you have some warnings, I mean, this is basically for issues or warnings that you have in your transaction, right?
Because
So
I
it
saw
says the
one,
first one.
when I
Mhm.
created one, I had one warning. I have it one warning now, like. And
So
the
it
same
says
I
if
saw in your video also, it was one warning at the time when it was
Mhm.
created. So,
Right.
so it's nothing
So
to worry.
nothing to worry. At least for a BA, it's okay.
Okay.
But when you're dealing with a developer, I mean, when you're dealing with a dev studio, you should make sure all the warnings are addressed.
Okay.
Because when you're moving something into production or into higher environments, you should make sure the errors are all addressed. I mean, these are not errors, basically, they're warnings. So we should make sure addressed. So you can just open each one of them. It says, what is the issue with the first one? It's a connector issue. View must be configured for create. So this is the create view that is there, but we did not configure anything.
Ah, okay.